Having gotten through his tricky teenage years with a little help from both friends and rivals, Sonic Team had no trouble keeping their #1 hedgehog in the public eye. The problem was that they still hadn't established a series of games as popular as the original 2D Sonic titles, which by now were almost 20 years old. Faced with the difficult task of where to go from here, the experiments continued. This is the evolution of Sonic the Hedgehog, Part 7. Catering to the wealth of fans who could never get enough of the classic style of Sonic gameplay, Sega released Sonic the Hedgehog 4, Episode 1 in October 2010. This marked a return to the original series of Sonic side-scrollers, which had ceased with Sonic the Hedgehog 3 in 1994. Playable on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, Nintendo Wii, and iOS initially, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 was later ported to PC and Android in January 2012. The game picks up after the Angel Island incident, with Dr. Eggman's Death Egg finally destroyed and the Master Emerald safe. Sonic has said goodbye to Tails and Knuckles to explore new lands on his own, while Dr. Eggman has taken new measures to defeat the Hedgehog once and for all by upgrading his cruel creations. As in the early Sonic games, the main objective is to speed through various acts in less than 10 minutes, collecting rings and racking up high scores before touching the end goal plate. Every fourth act, there's a boss to be defeated, after which the player opens a capsule. The secondary objective is to gather the 7 Chaos Emeralds by completing special stages. Collecting 50 rings in any of the first 2 acts of his own, plus the giant ring at the end, earns the player entry to a special stage, similar to the ones from the original Sonic the Hedgehog. Only this time, the player can control the rotation of the stage rather than it being automatic. If you collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds, you can play as Super Sonic after collecting 50 rings. Considered a 2.5D side-scroller due to its updated graphics and modern-style Sonic, the gameplay is akin to the classic titles, except with the introduction of Sonic's homing attack, which some fans were not happy to see, as the move was first introduced in Sonic Adventure and the classic 2D titles came long before it. Critics were also unhappy with the music, which featured low-quality synths and drum samples that didn't vary much between tracks. Despite those criticisms, Episode 1 received mostly positive reviews and a score of 81 on Metacritic. IGN awarded an 8 out of 10 alongside its Editor's Choice Award, describing it as short but sweet and well worth downloading. GamesRadar gave it a 9 out of 10 and called it deserving of the name Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2 was released in 2012, continuing the reboot with simple controls, zero voice acting, a focus on platforming, and momentum-based gameplay. It didn't fare as well as the first episode, however, receiving a score of just 63 on Metacritic. Lucas Sullivan from GamesRadar recounted their frustrations with it by saying, "Every time we felt like we were reliving our old Sonic glory days, the next stage would incorporate limp and uninspired gimmicks like shifting winds or avalanche snowboarding." Fun fact, players who owned both episodes of Sonic 4 could gain access to an additional episode called Episode Metal, where players could control Metal Sonic. Consoles detected progress through both games, and if the progression requirements were met, gamers could access Episode Metal as an extension of the Episode 2 world map. Wii fans were out of luck, though, since Episode 2 was never released on the Nintendo Wii. Wii owners would not have to miss out on Sonic for too long, as the next major title came in November 2010 with Sonic Colors. Developed for the Wii, an alternate version was released simultaneously for the Nintendo DS. The plot centered around Sonic and Tails investigating Dr. Eggman's incredible interstellar amusement park, which, of course, turns out to be a cover for his evil deeds. The Hedgehog and the Fox find out that Eggman has been dragging planets to Sonic's world from across the universe, kidnapping their inhabitants. Sonic must visit each of the planets and save them in order to disrupt Eggman's plans of universal domination. Colors took Sonic gameplay in a new direction with the introduction of wisps, alien creatures of different colors that act as power-ups. Sonic has the ability to use different color powers after encountering a wisp, and certain powers allow Sonic to progress via alternate paths to visit different worlds, collect special rings, and defeat enemies. Considered a return to form for modern Sonic games, Colors was praised for its visuals, sound, gameplay, and replay value. It was only seemingly let down by its difficulty and weak multiplayer. Metacritic holds a score of 78 for Sonic Colors, while IGN said at the time it might be the best Sonic game of this generation. It was a commercial success, too, with over 2 million copies sold. In September 2021, a remaster of the game titled Sonic Colors Ultimate was released. It featured enhanced visuals, refined controls, tweaked gameplay elements, and the inclusion of the Jade Wisp. This mysterious creature allows Sonic to pass through walls and levitate like a ghost to reach new areas. Ultimate registered a score of 74, with many reviewers underwhelmed by the Jade Wisp and noting that the game failed to build much upon the original version. As Sonic turned 20 years old in 2011, the aptly named Sonic Generations was released for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC. Plus, another alternate version was developed for Nintendo's 3DS handheld. While celebrating his birthday in Generations, Sonic's friends are kidnapped by the Time Eater and become trapped in white space. It's therefore up to Sonic to explore white space, find his pals, defeat the Time Eater, and bring them home. In order to do so, Sonic teams up with a younger version of himself, Classic Sonic. Players take control of either modern or classic Sonic, and each has his own levels and abilities. There are 9 stages to play through, all based on different Sonic eras. There's the Classic era, which contains the Green Hill, Chemical Plant, and Sky Sanctuary stages. The Dreamcast era consists of Speed Highway, City Escape, and Seaside Hill. And then there's the modern era, made up of Crisis City, Rooftop Fun, and Planet Wisp. A new 30-second trial mode tested how far players could get in a stage within just half a minute, while a traditional time attack mode tested a player's best time completing stages in full. Music from past Sonic titles, a total of 50 songs, could be unlocked by completing challenge acts or collecting red star rings. Sonic Generations was notable for being the first game in the Sonic franchise to support stereoscopic 3D gameplay, with a 3D TV and 3D glasses required for those wanting to experience it. The game was a big hit with fans, selling over 3 million copies and becoming the 5th best-selling Sonic game at that time. IGN awarded it another of their Editor's Choice Awards along with a score of 8.5 out of 10. Metacritic recorded a score of 77 out of 100. Fun fact, in 2011, a creepypasta story appeared online about a teenager playing a heavily modified PC port of the original 1991 Sonic the Hedgehog game. The teen was said to have experienced disturbing paranormal episodes while playing it. Then, in 2012, a game titled Sonic.exe was published by GameJolt user MY5T Crimson based on the creepypasta, featuring a demonic version of Sonic with bloody eyes. It was certified nightmare fuel that became popular as one of the earliest Sonic memes. In 2012, a mobile game called Sonic Jump was released by Hardlight Studio, a vertical platformer where the aim is to collect rings while jumping and bouncing to the highest level possible. Sonic Jump proved to be extremely popular, with over 8.8 million paid downloads on iOS alone by March 2013. Players could use the rings collected in their ring banks or use real money to purchase various in-game items like characters, power-ups, or wallpapers. The game scored a 77 on Metacritic. Another mobile game developed by Sega Hardlight and published by Sega in 2013 was Sonic Dash, an endless runner game similar to Temple Run. The player could take control of various Sonic characters and run across numerous series locations and fight bosses. Dash proved to be even more popular than Sonic Jump by a long way. In fact, Sonic Dash has gone on to become the most downloaded Sonic game ever. As of September 2021, it has been downloaded over 500 million times. It's surprising that Metacritic only scored Sonic Dash a 69 based on 29 reviews. But like most mobile games these days, the gripes were mainly with in-app purchases, which Destructoid described as ranging from not needed to pretty damn annoying. A sequel to Sonic Dash called Sonic Dash 2, Sonic Boom, came out in July 2015 for Android. It, too, received mixed reviews, registering a Metacritic score of 60. Speaking of Sonic Boom, that's the name of an animated TV series that started in 2014 and which the mobile sequel game was based on. A collaboration between Sega of America and We Do Productions from France. The show is loosely based on the video game franchise. Sonic Boom is the fifth animated series in this regard, and the second developed by Sega following Sonic X. New characters such as Styx the Badger make their debut in the show, which is set on Seaside Island in and around the Hedgehog Village. A familiar tale sees Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and the gang face off against perennial foe Dr. Eggman and his robot henchmen. Common Sense Media gave Sonic Boom 4 out of 5 stars, and the show later won the award for Best Animation at the 2017 Chico Independent Film Festival. Also in 2017, Film Chilla awarded Sonic Boom with Best Series. A number of video games tied in with the release of Sonic Boom in 2014. There was an action-adventure game for the Wii U titled Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric, and a 2.5D side-scrolling adventure platformer for the Nintendo 3DS called Sonic Boom: Shattered Crystal. Both games focused on exploration, but whereas Rise of Lyric had platforming elements and a beat-em-up style, Shattered Crystal was more about platforming and puzzle solving. Both games were severely criticized, with Rise of Lyric receiving an awful 32 on Metacritic and Shattered Crystal scoring 47. Rise of Lyric even became the worst-rated Sonic title. IGN gave the game a 4.3 out of 10 and said in their review, "Its exploration is so-so, its brawling is tedious, its characters are annoying, and the only stages where it feels like a Sonic game are the ones most likely to suffer technical problems." ZTGD gave their advice by saying, "Just stay far, far away from this toxic hedgehog." A third Boom game based on Fire and Ice was released in 2016 for the 3DS. It was a 2.5D side-scrolling action-adventure platform game developed by Sanzaru Games and published by Sega. The game's plot followed Sonic and friends as they attempted to save the world by closing dangerous fissures created by Dr. Eggman's Ragnium mining operations. All playable characters could use fire and ice mechanics to transform the game's levels, and there was a multiplayer racing mode called Bot Racing. Sonic Boom: Fire and Ice fared better than other Boom games, scoring a 62 with Metacritic. James Wynn of GameZone praised it as a huge improvement over Shattered Crystal, while Mike Fahey of Kotaku admired mixing the wit and charm of the cartoon with the speed and simplicity of old-school Sonic games. Fun fact, some interesting arcade games and attractions centered around the Sonic franchise were featured in Japan in 2013. Sonic Athletics was an arcade game played with a treadmill for up to 8 players. Sonic Ghost Shooting was an interactive dark ride where players used light guns to shoot as many ghosts as possible. And Sonic Brain Ranking invited up to 10 players to ask and answer miscellaneous trivia while in an area resembling Green Hill Zone. Sonic Lost World was a 3D platforming game exclusively for the Nintendo Wii U, released in October 2013, with a 3DS version launched on the same day. Interestingly, the Wii U version was published by Sega in Japan and America, but by Nintendo in Europe and Australia. In the game, Sonic is tasked with stopping the Deadly Six, an alien tribe that seeks to siphon the world's energy from the Lost Hex, which serves as the game's setting. Gameplay is a combination of 2D and 3D shifting perspectives that incorporate past Sonic moves, such as the Spin Dash, Bound Jump, and Super Peel Out. An improved, focused homing attack is introduced, as well as a parkour system for getting past obstacles and running on walls. Color powers return and are expanded upon Sonic colors and generations, as well as red star rings, which can be collected and used to unlock additional content. The Wii U version has a competitive and cooperative multiplayer, but no online multiplayer mode. Reception to Sonic Lost World was mixed, resulting in a score of 63 from Metacritic. Its visuals were highly commended, with Chris Plant of Polygon calling them arguably the best in the series. However, the new parkour mechanic was deemed a failure, as Game Informer's Tim Turry attested to, saying he never got a good feel for the rhythm of wall running and jumping, and felt lucky to pass sections where it was forced. Regardless, Lost World sold fairly well, achieving combined sales of more than 900,000 units. Fun fact: Super Sonic Special No. 9, published by Archie Comics, contains a prequel to Lost World written by Ian Flynn. At 20 pages long, it's the longest game adaptation featured in Archie Comics to date. Flynn stated that the story would become canon for later Sonic the Hedgehog Archie Comics. In February 2015, mobile gamers in Japan and Canada could download a new Sonic title, Sonic Runners. The game was released worldwide on Android and iOS in June 2015. A side-scrolling platformer, Sonic Runners has been downloaded more than 6 million times by December that same year. Once again, the actual gameplay was praised, but the game was severely let down by the presence of constant ads, a pay-to-win system, and poor load times. This resulted in a score of 51 on Metacritic. The game's servers were closed in July 2016, and the title was pulled from store apps. A sequel, called Sonic Runners Adventure, appeared in 2017 and scored much more favorably, with Metacritic registering a respectable 78. Sonic Runners Adventure was met with generally favorable reviews. Carter Dodson of Touch Arcade was pleased that the game had a fixed price, rather than the freemium mechanics seen in its predecessor. Meanwhile, Christine Chan of App Advice enjoyed the game's retro feel and bright, lush environments that invoked the addictive sense of Sonic nostalgia. We've almost caught up with current-day Sonic, so make sure you join me for the final stages of his evolution by clicking the video on screen. Thanks for watching.